In this React tutorial, I'm going to show you how to build a random code generating machine using React hooks actually. Watch till the end to get a clear explanation of how it's done, and I'll be explaining the code using React hooks, step-by-step concept explanation as well. So tighten your seatbelt for this exciting React journey. So first let's do the HTML code. It's pretty simple. I've just done div app equal to ID, just that's a container for the app. Then here in the JavaScript, I'm making a code data kind of object which is called code data to store the text string and the author's name string. Here I'm just using two data only because I want to speed up the process, but you can use 100 or more, 200, 10, 50, up to you, how many ever number of data you want to create. I mean the text and author's name that you want to create is up to you to make it more creative. Yeah. So after this I'm going to create the background colors. So background colors is an array, right, in JavaScript. So this is background colors, an array in JavaScript. I'm calling it const background colors, and then I'm storing all the colors which is required for the background of the app when the codes are being shown. So whatever colors you want, blue, red, pink, that's totally up to you, how many ever you want to store here. Yeah, so that's just for you to know what all I'm preparing and building here. This is as part of creating the app. Now we create another component which is called, we create a component which is called CodeBox component. I call it CodeBox, and here it has two arguments or parameters, which is code and handle new code. Yeah, so the handle new code is the on-click event handler that helps users to interact with the app when an event is fired. Like for example, when a button is clicked, you get to see the code, new code. You'll see that later. Inside the constant code box, that is a code box component, we will need to store what all? The codes, the author's name, that is a code text, the author's name, and also the button to share on the tweet. And also a button to click, which when clicked will show you the new code along with the author's name. Yeah, so these are the things that you need to show. Okay, so here as part of that we are giving a div ID container of CodeBox, then paragraph element with an ID of text, and it will show the code.text in curly braces so that it will implement and show the text of the code. Yeah, and author name again in the H2 ID, and showing the code author in curly braces. You know why curly braces? So that when you write something in curly braces, it will show that it's a JavaScript and this can be implemented. So in React you will learn what is JSX in your FCC lessons. Go back and refer to it if you don't understand, or you can ask me in the comment section. Then inside this inside this component of CodeBox, you also have a button ID, as I mentioned earlier, button with an ID of new code, because this button will show you the new code when clicked, class of button of course, and on click with a handle new code within curly braces. Why? Because that will actually implement and activate the new code generation when you click that button. So we call it the new code button. Then next to that, you want to share the new code, right, when it appears. So you have this A tag, yeah, and why do you have that? This is called A, meaning the anchor tag. So the anchor tag has a hyperlink which is directing you towards a Twitter landing page. It has an ID of tweet code as required in the FCC challenge, and target is underscore blank. Now why is it, what happens when it's underscore blank? It will lead you to a different page, yeah, and it will lead you to the Twitter page. So this part is over. Next you have to generate the random index of the codes, right? So you make another arrow function which is get random index function. So constant get random index maximum to generate the maximum number of indexes to get the codes. So you do perform the math.random function by multiplying it with the code data length, right? Because you have, like in this case, the code data has length is 2. So as many as possible, if you want, you have to get more length, as I mentioned earlier. Then perform the math.flow to round it up. Okay, now you create the app component. That is the main component. So the app component is again an arrow function whereby you're using the React hooks here with two arguments, quote and set quote. Yeah, so these are the hooks. So what is happening is a set quote here will update the quote of the app component, and the useState hook will allow us to track the state in this component and shows the current value of the code when a user interacts with the app. So you know how the useState and getState hooks are used here. So in this way, from the initial value of the code data, we update the state and manage to get a random index of the code data. Then you create a handle new code function using the setState hook, that is a set code. So here what the set code is doing is it's updating the quote value to the current value in order to get a random index. Yeah, as you can see here from the function itself. Then we style the background colors of the body of the app by math.random. So here what you're going to do first is document.body.style.background color. Yeah, that's because you want to style the background color. So what function it is? Background colors, you use math.flow, math.random function. By multiplying by the background colors length, that is, you get it from the background colors array that you prepared earlier, if you remember above. Okay, then what's happening is so that you can get the maximum number of background colors. So that's a function for that. And this, when the app when rendered, what does it return? It will return a div class of wrapper, and inside that, what is the component? The main component is the app, as you see here, and within the main app it will return when rendered, it will return the CodeBox component. Remember that. So the CodeBox component contains the code mentioned in curly braces in order to generate the codes every time the handle new quote is triggered. Yeah, so as you can see here, so write the handle new quote inside that, and quote equals quote within curly braces again, so that it knows that the code has to be generated. That's why we write it within the curly braces. Then what we do is React DOM.render app document.query selector the app ID. So already you've understood, and don't forget to test the FCC challenge test by clicking the CDN link, if you remember, the test link. So you know you've passed all the 10 tests. Of course here we have passed all the 10 tests. Yeah, and so that means we created the app component that implements a set state and use state hooks to update the value of the code data from the initial data. And here what I'm doing is I'm adding the Babel and the React library. This is in Jsitor. You can do it either in the Jsitor app code editor, or you can do it in the codepen. That's totally up to you. Trying to figure out why after adding the library it's not showing, so maybe some debugging needs to do. So let's see what's happening. So until now what we have done, I'm just going over again. We managed to create the app component that implements a set state and use state hooks to update the value of the code data from the initial data. We created the handle new code function to implement and update the code data for generating random index. Then we style the body of the app with random background colors using the random and flow function method. Finally, when the app component is rendered, it will return the CodeBox component inside it with the ability to handle new code that adds a value of the current code value along from the code data along with the author's name, and also the ability to and also with a button to share it on your Twitter. So tweet it rather. So you have two buttons. One is to generate the new code with the author's name, and the second button is for sharing your data, whatever the value of the code, whatever you get it. So here I'm trying to figure out what went wrong, maybe something to do with the library or the code. So just check it all up. And meanwhile, the CSS, just to tell you, I've already done the CSS here. I'm not showing the CSS, how it's to be done, because this is more about React and JavaScript. So what you can do is you can do the CSS on your own, and if you get stuck, you can check the code. I will be giving the source code here also below in the description, so not to worry about that. So here, yes, it's correct now. Something was wrong. So you have the code, as you can see, with two buttons. One is a new code and the other one is a tweak button. So I call it, one is new code for generating the new